Hi, so for Talk Tuesday today, I'm very excited to be speaking to Julia Rose, and Julia is the the Wellington regional representative for Thermomix. Now, I'm really familiar with Thermomix because I come from Australia where it's really popular and a lot of people have Thermomix, but I know that's not the case in New Zealand. So I'm hoping that Julia is going to tell us all about Thermomix today.
Yeah, no, great. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Judith.
All right. So, Thermomix, tell us, what is it to start with, for those of us who haven't come across a Thermomix before?
Yeah, so Thermomix, it's a German cooking appliance, but like kind of rolling all your kitchen appliances all into one unit. So, for example, when I got my machine, which was, I got my first Thermomix about 5 years ago, and I ended up getting rid of my kitchen. It actually broke, which was the reason I ended up getting a Thermomix. And no longer found that I needed things like, stick blenders and rice cookers and bread makers and my little blendy whizzy stick things. So I ended up just kind of simplifying my kitchen a wee bit, I guess, and find that I do most of my cooking now in the Thermomix. So yeah, I bought mine 5 years ago, and I would use it every single day that I'm in the kitchen, without a doubt, multiple times a day, most days. So yeah.
Right. So it replaces, so you can make bread in it?
So yeah, it's got, I can show you here actually. It's a good way of just kind of summarizing it. I don't know if you can see that, all the different functions of the machine. So it will make dough, it will chop things, it will cook, it will saute, braising, mincing, emulsifying. And the really clever thing is that it's all done with one bowl and just one blade. So you don't have to keep changing the blade over, if you're mincing meat or doing ice cream, it's all done with the same blade. And that all just comes down to the really very, very clever German engineering of the machine.
Wow. So and correct me if I'm wrong, so you can bake bread in it, but you could, like, if you wanted to do some scones or how would you do those in
yeah, so what you do with your bread and your baking is that you're making all your doughs and all your batters in the machine. Right. So you would still bake them in an oven. We do have a lot of recipes where you can steam in the Thermomix, so doing things like steam pudding, steam muffins, and even some particular types of bread you can actually steam. But in terms of making a loaf of bread, I would still bake that in my oven. Right. And for the kids' lunch boxes, that's just where I do everything in the Thermomix, and making granola bars, muffins, cookies, all that kind of thing, pizza scrolls. So I'll make all the doughs, and what I love doing is actually grinding my own flours. So even if I'm making a treat like some cookies with chocolate chips in it, what I'll do first is put in some pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, and grind them into a flour and use that as part of the flour. Wow. in the baking. So yeah, it's just got an incredible motor that you can turn, even dried chickpeas or basmati rice, you can very easily, within a minute have that as a flour. So
wow. So I mean, I would do that in my spice grinder, but of course I've got my spice grinder and I've got my stick blender and I've got my little food processor, and so the Thermomix does all of that in one place.
All of that in there, yeah. And then when it comes to things like creaming butter and things like that, you do that in there. Or if you're melting coconut oil or butters or things for your baking, it's all done in the one bowl. So yeah, it just makes it really easy. And the cool thing about it is that the machine has got integrated scales. So if you're having to add 100 grams of sesame seeds and 100 of sunflower seeds, it weighs it all in as you go. So right. It just, with that such precision, and we've got a new model out called the TM6, and it measures down to the 1 gram. So it just means you have, just such precise ingredients going into your mixes. So pretty much everything turns out. There's not many flops going on these days.
I was going to say, which doesn't go with my style of cooking, which is, oh yeah, I'll just do a bit of this and I'll do a bit of that. That sounds amazing. Now, okay, from a cook's point of view, how is it to wash? Because I know that sometimes you've got all these big mixers and it just becomes such a pain to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
In it.
And I'm one of these people that I need everything to be easy in the kitchen, otherwise you won't see me doing it. So the bowl is like this. It's just one bowl and one blade. The blade comes out very easily by just twisting the bottom off, so you can take it apart. But what I love about this Thermomix that's come out now is that it's got a cleaning function. So if I'm doing something like making my own bliss balls, you know what dates and things like that are like when you've mushed them up. Your bowl gets pretty sticky. So you scrape your mixture out, and it comes with a specific spatula for the machine, so it's easy to scrape it out. And then once you've got your mixture out, we have a pre-clean mode. So you fill the bowl with water, pop in a little bit of either vinegar or washing up detergent, whatever you like to use. And then you click the preset cleaning mode, and it's got a smart cleaning program. So it kind of works out how it needs, you know, how long and how hot it needs to be washed, and it quickly whizzes it up and does a quick pre-clean for you, and then you just rinse it out in the sink. So
and then it takes the dog for a walk.
if only. But it's all the parts are actually able to go in the dishwasher. Personally, I don't. I just, you know, like to kind of, well, the thing is I'm always using it. I don't actually have time for it to sit in the dishwasher if I'm at home. But also, you know, I just like to take extra care of it. But you can, it's safe to put everything in the dishwasher.
Okay, so what are the benefits that you've seen? Because you say you got one 5 years ago. So, I mean, obviously it's saving you a lot of kitchen space because you don't have to have 15 different appliances. You just have the one, which is great. But what are the benefits you've seen for your family? You've got 3 children, is that right?
Yeah, I've got three children, ages 10, 12, and nearly 14. So, yeah, I got my Thermomix at the time when both myself and my son were having gut issues, actually, and we had to cut out certain foods from our diet. So we were living overseas. We were living in the Middle East at the time, and I was having to read the labels of absolutely everything that we purchased. And becoming a label reader, you just actually become quite horrified what's in your food. And what I found is that the things that said like gluten-free, high fiber as their advertising line were often the worst. They were either pumped full of sugar or even things, I couldn't have corn, and there was cornstarch and maize and stuff and everything. So I really had to, and I wanted to, be able to cook a lot more from scratch. But being, you know, a busy mum who's got time to be making everything from scratch, and I'd heard about Thermomix, and to be fair, it took me about a year to go along to actually see a demonstration because I just thought that they were overpriced German blenders. Is what my impression of them was. Anyway, I brought one, and yeah, it's enabled us to cut preservatives and things like that out of our diet. You know, we're not perfect. I still do buy some things, but a whole lot more. We're just eating way more from scratch. So 1, we're cutting out preservatives. 2, we're saving money because, you know, eating healthy can be expensive, you know, when you're having things like almond flour and almond milk and those kind of things. And if you actually make them yourself, it just ends up saving you a whole lot of money. And I love the fact that we're cutting out more packaging, you know, from what we're buying, because I kind of buy things more in bulk, the raw ingredients, and from a big bag of raw almonds, I can make my own almond flour, my own almond milk, almond butter, just to give you an example. So definitely saving packaging, saving money. But one of the things on the big benefit is the recipe, the same dishes all of the time for our family. So what I love about the Thermomix is because it's such a huge global product, there's over 50,000 recipes programmed for the Thermomix actually on your machine now. So every single week we will have at least 2 nights where I make something I've never made before, just because you can, and there's all these ideas. And so, you know, if I look in my fridge and I think, oh, I've got some chicken and some spinach to use, I can just type that in the search bar and all the Thermomix recipes with chicken and spinach will pop up, and then I'll save them onto my machine and go ahead and cook them. So
wow, that sounds amazing. Yeah.
And I guess the last thing is saving you time. I don't know about you, but for me, from 4 o'clock until kind of 7:30 at night during the week, with the ages my kids are, I'm dropping kids here, there, different practices, netball games, sport games. So I'm kind of cooking, in stages and on the run. And what I love about the Thermomix is because it's all timed cooking and it does all the stirring for you. So if I was making like a lasagna, for example, I'd throw all the white sauce ingredients in and they've all been measured. So I know I've got the right amount of everything. And I turn it on for 7 minutes and I walk out the door and it's going to stir my bechamel sauce for me and make perfect lump-free sauce that won't burn, and it will be ready for me when I get back. So yeah, it just means, you can do other things while you're cooking. You're not actually chained to the stovetop.
Which is great, which is really great. And now you did say to me that your kids use it. Now you've got older kids, but tell us how they use it.
Yeah, well, I think because it's such a, what kids are like with iPads and phones and things these days, they're so intuitive and they love the screens and they love the technology. So the website that Thermomix is linked to is called Cookie Do, and we have an app for it and a website where you can go and select your recipes, and then you can actually save them into your weekly planner. And so the kids will, sometimes I'll throw them the iPad and say, right, let's find something for dinner. We can save it into the weekly planner. My daughter Izzy, she's a huge fan of baking, so she loves doing that. So she's got her own little recipe collection. So she just drags recipes into her collection. She'll come onto the machine, she'll find her Izzy's recipes and get cooking with them. And so yeah, as long as you can read, you can pretty much cook like a chef with a Thermomix is the cool thing. And it's so inspiring for them. And what I love is that they get to really understand what's in their food, like what's acceptable in terms of the amount of sugar and things, and what's a real treat and what's healthy. And yeah, it's a great way of getting them involved. And I think that the more the kids are involved in cooking, the bigger range of foods that they eat, and they're proud of what they've made and they try new things. And yeah,
all of that's super, super positive. I mean, the more involved children are in cooking, the better for everybody. And of course, they're learning all those skills that they can take forwards when they leave home and they're able to sort of cook. But they probably won't be able to afford a Thermomix. So that's obviously the $1 million question is, how affordable is it?
It's the price of the machine is $2,469, which might sound a lot when you say it like that. However, when I look back, how we have used our machine, how much we would have ended up, saving on things that we've been able to make from scratch, and just how much less we go out. Like, we'd often, get pizzas, nice Italian pizzas delivered or things. Now we'll make them ourselves, just because you can. It takes 3 minutes to knead the perfect pizza dough. You can make your pizza sauces in the Thermomix. You can grate your mozzarella in there. So things like that. And like curries, we'd make our own pastes. And so we eat out a lot less. Before I got a Thermomix, one of my favourite things to eat was risotto. If I ever went to a nice Italian restaurant, I would order a risotto because I knew what a pain it was to make it home. Who has time to do that? Where it is now, I know that the Thermomix can actually whip up a risotto as good as any restaurant. So yeah, it ends up, paying for itself. And the cool thing is now that Thermomix offer payment plans. So to give you an idea, at the moment we have one where it's 36 months interest free. If you break that down, it's $17.54 a week. Now I know that I would save $17 a week through using my one, just with different things, instead of buying bread rolls and things, I'll make them sometimes, and different dinners will go out less, and to me, it pays itself.
Right, okay. Now you did mention to me that you can actually work and get one for free, and I love free. Free is good, so... Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, well, I think Thermomix is at a really exciting stage in New Zealand. You were saying before, still not a lot of people know about it. And it's just got to the point where that is starting to change. To give you an idea, in Australia, they have almost sold 500,000 Thermomixes. So in New Zealand, we are just over 10,000. And that's really starting to change. You know, people are starting. I've worked at the Cavity Food Show on the weekend, and there was more people are coming. Oh, I've heard of those things, or I've got a sister-in-law in Australia who's talked about that, or there's starting to be a little more brand, recognition and that going on. So it seems to be a great time to get involved. We're a growing team in Wellington, and all around New Zealand we're growing. So we're always looking for new consultants. And that's why I ended up, joining when I was overseas. I became a consultant, one, because I just wanted everyone to know about it and know that there's a way of preparing your food that much easier. So yeah, if you jump on board as a consultant, you pay a deposit for a machine, you get your machine, you get all the training, which is, it's really good fun. You're part of a fun team environment. You learn your machine really well, which is a great benefit. And then you have a sales program. Once you've sold 6 of them over a 60-day period, you actually get to keep the machine yourself. So, more and more people are looking at that as an option of an entry point into getting a Thermomix. So it's pretty cool.
And there's actually quite a few cafes and restaurants that use the Thermomix as well in New Zealand. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in New Zealand a lot of people have come to me recently and said, I've seen Thermomix on MasterChef, so that you'll see it in those all those TV programs that they have them in the background. We've sold quite a few to cafes around Wellington, all around New Zealand. A lot of the kitchens will use them for doing their prep. And actually, at the food show in the weekend, we met a really lovely chef who's been using Thermomix for the last 12 years in kitchens all over Europe and in New Zealand. And he was saying, for things like doing your pestos and your chutneys and your lovely sauces and things, there's nothing else compares to doing it in a Thermomix. So they'll use it a lot for the sides and the bits, for their prep work, because it will chop onions, garlic, lemongrass, ginger, all within a couple of seconds. So it's a great tool for not only commercial use, but home use as well.
Right. So in some ways it's a bit of a sort of a party plan type of concept, because you do cooking demos, don't you?
Yeah, what we do is what we call a cooking experience, because it is, you've probably, if you've listened this far, you might be wondering, how on earth could one machine make ice cream and then a soup and then a risotto and then pizza dough? You've got to actually see it in action. So what we run is what we call a cooking experience. It's just a small get together. Normally someone hosts and they invite 2 friends. So it's not a huge big party. It's more
right.
3 people, and we'll cook 3 different dishes. So each person can actually have a chance of doing one of the recipes if they want to, and actually using the machine, and then just sitting down afterwards and trying the food. And it's quite informal, and it's a bit of fun, and just a way to get actually hands-on with the machine. It costs nothing. We do it, as a complimentary thing, that we just get the host to provide anything that is any chilled ingredients, just for food and safety regulations. They be provided by the host. Otherwise, we come with everything else. And it's just a chance for you to have an experience of it.
Right. So, can you show us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just flip my machine on. We also run things like cooking classes and workshops, and I've been running some in Wellington, but all around New Zealand they're going on as well. If you go to the thermomix.co.nz website, we always have a list of different events and things are on there. So for those that don't want to host in their home, it's absolutely fine. You can, touch base and come along to a little workshop or an open home and see it in action there. Cool. So I'm just not sure how this will go, but let's give it a go. So I've just powered the machine on, and what I thought we could make is a raw broccoli salad. So what I'm doing, clicking onto here, can you see that?
Really?
And then I come into my week, and I have, just hold it there, I've saved the recipe onto the screen there. So it's a broccoli salad with nuts, and then I go to start cooking, and it tells me exactly what to do. So the first thing it says is to add 300 grams of broccoli. So the scales have activated, and I'm just going to put, I've actually got kale mixed with broccoli. So these recipes on here are purely a guide, and I'm always one of those people that changes everything. So you can halve ingredients, you can double them, you can skip them out. So the recipe here, if you're not someone that likes following recipes to the T, it's purely a guide.
That's awesome. Yep.
To add some red pepper, so I'll add that. I click next, add an apple, so I'll click that on, and then I'm going to add my nuts and seeds, and then it tells me to add 25 grams of olive oil. So the cool thing here is that even your things like oils, the scales pop up automatically, and I weigh in 25 grams of olive oil, which means I'm just going to get the right balance of, you know, flavors and oils versus the amount of salad ingredients I've got. The next one is 15 grams of vinegar, so I just use like a apple cider vinegar. So I'll weigh 15 grams of vinegar. Honey. Okay, and then we also have a teaspoon of mustard. And then there's the mustard, a little bit of salt, a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. So I'll just, you can kind of see in there. So yep. Pretty much we've got all our vegetables in there with the dressing ingredients. It tells me to click on next. It tells me to pop on my lid. And then you'll see here the machine is programmed, it's pre-programmed for 5 seconds, and down the bottom it tells me to turn it to speed 4. We'll make a bit of a racket as we chop it, but I'm going to turn it around to speed 4. And that is done. So I'll show you what it looks like. Pour it into dish here. I'll just try and hold the camera up. So we've got like a broccoli salad, the broccoli and apple and peppers and things have all been chopped up.
Oh, I know what I'm going to try this week. And we don't do Christmas presents, but my husband actually said to me last week, he goes, is there anything you do want for Christmas?
That would be a generous Santa.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so if we go to the Thermomix New Zealand website, we can find out how to contact you, or obviously if we're not in Wellington, somebody else from Thermomix.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so if you go to thermomix.co.nz, and there's lots of good little videos and things on there showing all the different functions and features of the machine as well. And we've got consultants all around New Zealand, obviously Australia, they're around the world, but in New Zealand, yeah, we all go through the thermomix.co.nz website. I'm based in Wellington with the team. But yeah, if you want to find out any more information, you can check on there, or contact me and I can point you in the right direction to someone. I know all the team leaders around New Zealand, so
that sounds
for the right person.
That
whether
sounds
it is
awesome.
To earn one or just to have a look a bit closer.
Yeah, no, it sounds awesome. I'm so impulse. Oh. No, but that's fantastic. Okay, so I'll put this up and I'll put the links on there. So if someone wants to get in contact with you, then they're able to do so.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on today, and an even better idea for a new salad, which is always exciting. So that's perfect. So anything else you want to share with us?
No, just want to thank you, Judith, for having me along. I absolutely love what you're doing, and yeah, totally agree, you know, with just about involving kids in the cooking process just makes a huge difference.
And if they can play with a gadget.
Oh, I know, especially teenagers. I mean, how do you get a 13 or 14-year-old boy to cook? Yeah. And my son's always on naan bread duties and things when we do curry night because it's a gadget. He's quite cool with that.
Sounds fabulous. All right, well, that's great. Thank you so much for coming on today. And yes, so looking forward to, I'm going to attend a cooking demo myself and see how it goes. Absolutely. All right, thanks a lot, Julia.
Thanks, Judith. Bye.